And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
And you don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder.
And okay, I gotta work on that.
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have a cake.
Yeah.
Gosh, you scared me.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the award-winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd. I'm your host today, Nathan Mitchell. We're taking a little bit of a different tack than we announced earlier today. John was going to join me, but John is out and about, so it's going to be me with Fightin' Joe Morrissey over here. Senator Morrissey represents the 16th district. He represents Richmond, Chesterfield, some other places around here. He's got a nice, big, broad district with a lot of work that he's done. Welcome, Senator. It's great to see you here.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your show. I think while I've been to the McShin Foundation many, many times, addressing folks and chatting with people, I think this is the first time I've been on the podcast, Get in the Herd, and it's an honor.
Thank you. I think it is your first time. I know that we've reached out. We'll continue to have you whenever you can.
Sure.
You know, I love your energy, and something I learned about you over the last session was just how passionate you are about the recovery issues. And
absolutely. There's not a family out there that hasn't dealt with somebody in recovery, either their immediate family, their extended family, a close friend at work. It affects everybody. And fortunately, and this is really good, right now, saying that you're in recovery is not a dirty phrase any longer. Okay. I think it's something to be very proud of because it shows the lengths that people are willing to do to get this disease of addiction off their back.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You have been, you've been a fighter here in Virginia for a long time, and I haven't been in Richmond for very long. I've been in Richmond for now, almost about 5 years. So my experience, coming to the McShin Foundation was through the courts. I was in a jail program up in Warrenton, Virginia, not where I'm from, but just where I happened to get caught and go to jail. And I found myself in a McShin program. And the courts, when I went to trial, the courts mandated me here to Richmond. And I said, all right, well, I can do that for 30 days.
And you're thinking, let me guess, was I'll do that 30 days. That's the price of doing business. I'll do what I'm supposed to, get my time done and go back to Northern Virginia, and you didn't have the mindset that I'm going to deal with this disease of addiction. Am I right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I didn't have a disease.
Right. Of course not.
No. It was your problem.
Yep.
And everybody else's problem.
The court's problem.
Court's problem. Right.
Yeah, it was simply a minor inconvenience, get you 30 days done, and then go back to Nova.
Exactly.
Somewhere along the way, though, you had an epiphany.
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly what that was or when that was.
People don't necessarily know.
No, I don't. And there are a lot of moments, and I talk about my moments all the time where I can touch at. But what I love and what I get to do now, in my role here at McShin, and I'm actually about to leave McShin. People here don't know this, but I'm actually moving on from McShin, and I'm going to go work for Impact, which is doing AmeriCorps programs here in Virginia. So I'll actually be working with more recovery specialists here in Virginia, doing a lot of the same work on a bigger scale with Virginia.
Where will you be working?
Right here in Richmond.
Okay.
Right here in Richmond, but I'll be traveling to Lynchburg and to Roanoke and to Reston and to Williamsburg.
Congratulations to you for that. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
It just shows that your efforts to aid and assist the recovery industry is recognized throughout the Commonwealth. Good for you.
Yeah, appreciate that. And what I love, though, about that position and about what I do now is working at the public policy level. Because what I was taught early on by John, and by the way, John Shinholser just celebrated 40 years in recovery yesterday. So if you have a second.
I've known John. I will give him a call. I've known John for over a quarter of a century. Wow. And I remember when he first started McShin, and it's grown into a large business. But the business has remained steadfast in its commitment to looking at each individual person, and he considers it a great success when somebody hits a sobriety milestone. I will call him afterwards to say, "Congrats, mate, on 40 years of sobriety."
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's a pretty big deal. And I look at that commitment to service, and John's commitment to us and the community, the recovery community, the broader community too. That commitment, trickles down into everything else that trickles down. Did I just say that?
I know what you mean.
But it goes into everything else that we do around here because, he helped me to find my voice when I didn't have a voice.
Yep.
And now I have a voice.
Here's what you were saying, I think, that his commitment and his energy, he doesn't have to talk about it. Just it. People can see what he's doing. And as I tell, I've got, some young children, and I say, don't tell me what you're going to do. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Cream rises to the top. I'm going to see how you perform. Don't tell me you're going to, go win this soccer game or you're going to do this. Just do it.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for 4 decades.
Yeah. I Art can attest to this. I say to people all the time, mean what you say what you mean. It's kind of along the same lines of, don't talk about it, be about it.
You know what I say? I say show up. Half the battle in life is showing up.
Yep.
Half the battle. The other battle half is if you're prepared, execute it. And I got some young kids that are good athletes. They get after it. Okay. But I tell them you gotta get prepared. We have a soccer game on Saturday. You better believe we're going to be practicing 3 weeks, 3 days that week, on our shots, on our dribbling the soccer ball and scoring, and Chase, I've got 2 playing, and they're lighting it up in the I-9 Henrico League. But Chase, scored 3 goals in the first half in his game, and I knelt down to him at halftime. And I'm not that hovering father of the games. I just watch, and he asked me, at halftime, I said, "Good job. Yeah. You showed up. You're working hard." I said, "You got to have to go. Give it the same effort the second half. I don't care if you don't score any goals. You're probably not going to score 3, but give it the same effort."
Yeah.
He scored 5 goals in the second half.
Wow.
And set an I-9 record for 8 goals in a game. So again, you show up, you be prepared, and then you execute, and that's what you guys are doing.
How old is Chase?
He's 7.
You're 7. You've got what, 5, 6?
6
kids?
I got 6 kids, 9 and under.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Best part of my life.
Yeah, I bet.
Best part of my life.
I love that because it is about consistency. It's about finding what you do and sticking with it. That's a lot of what John has taught us. Is okay. We need to be of service, and so when I started to find my voice, I started to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to go out, and I got to meet people like you. Go to the General Assembly. Go to
I've
different.
seen you down in the General Assembly.
Yeah.
You and Chuck, Charles.
Yeah.
Were on my show, the Fighting Joe Morrissey show.
The Fighting Joe Morrissey show. What is
Did a
that?
great job.
Every day.
Every day from 12 to 1.
12 to 1. What channels? You might as well put a plug in, right?
I can't remember. We just got picked up by another radio station in Virginia Beach, but we're on 100.5 AM, 107.7, 102. I can't remember all those numbers. I'm getting old.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, I can appreciate that.
I'm still pretty, but I'm getting old. I can't remember all those,
You got
all those
this.
numbers.
You got those 6 young kids running around.
You know what? I'm doing with my I remember when I was growing up, we had a large family, 6 kids, and my dad wanted somebody. He'd start, Bill, Joe, Jane, Charlie, Liz, John, just go through the list of names. I'm doing that now. I said, Kennedy, do this. Well, I'm not Kennedy. I'm Bella. It doesn't make any difference. Do this. I just, you go through names,
Yeah, my dad does the same thing. He goes, Art, Michael, Pete.
Yeah, just go through it. You know who I'm talking to. And I don't know what that's an indication or a sign of. But I know we're digressing.
Oh, please.
Allow me. But I love being a father. Best role I've ever had. And I've had a lot of great roles.
Yeah.
I really have. I've been blessed. But the best role is father and to these young kids. And I enjoy every moment of it. If I could if I could freeze time right now for 10 years, freeze it at their age and go on, I'd do it in a second.
Yeah.
And if you don't think things are busy in our household, then it is. It really is.
Well, so that you brought up the radio program that and you brought up the kids and the Fighting Joe. I know Fighting Joe is a thing you've had for a long time, and in fact, I think the first time I heard your name, it was Fighting Joe Morrissey. It wasn't.
I didn't give it
Senator...
to myself. It was given. I've been, as I said once on the floor. I was giving a floor speech in the House, and I said to the Speaker, I said, "Mr. Speaker, politics can be, a contact sport, and you got to be able to, you're going to get in a fight now and then. I've been in a couple of them," I said, and everybody laughed. I said, "But it is. You got to be able to take a punch and deliver one, especially if you're passionate about something, as you are, and Art and Charles and John and everybody else. You were passionate about recovery. Good on you, mate, as we say in Australia, and I've been passionate whether I'm defending people, in the courthouse as I used to do, or if I'm defending my constituents in the State House. You better believe I'm going to fight. I am not just going to show up. Okay. I got too much to do in my life. I want to get things done.
I like that. You have a big family, right?
I do.
You have any? Do you have any brothers available?
Yeah,
My mom is single. That's why I'm saying.
I came from a family of 6 kids.
Yeah.
Sadly, the 3 youngest siblings have passed. 2 from cancer, 1 from an overdose.
Oh.
Mom and dad have passed. So there's just 3 of the 8 that are here. And then of course I've got a large, clan of myself, but the kids are with, we're in various churches on Sunday. We're at soccer games, cookouts, community events.
Yeah.
They know more about dealing with public, and they know the business of a state senator isn't being that people maybe give some deference. They know it's about service. Because we've talked about that, well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll go into politics. Well, don't do it unless you want to serve. It is the only reason to do it. If you want to do it because you want a number in your tag, or a word that says delegate or senator, or you want people to genuflect when you walk by, first of all, never happen. For a second factor, once you're out of office, I don't care what you've done, they're going to forget about you. So just do something which you're there that has an impact, a lasting impact on people. And I think, and I say it respectfully, without any degree of braggadocio, I think I've done that just in the last 2 years in the Senate.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have made a commitment to criminal justice reform.
Been my focus.
Been your focus. What got you into that? Why that?
Well, listen, I came down to Richmond in '84. I was an assistant Commonwealth attorney. I was elected chief prosecutor. I was a defense attorney for 25 years. I've seen the criminal justice system, okay, from every side. And there's 2 things that, in fact, I was talking about it this morning, that are sacrosanct, in my opinion. The criminal justice system, it's got to be a level playing field when you go into the courtroom. Doesn't mean you're going to get every lawyer that you get to defend somebody is going to be on the same level. I'm talking about in the courtroom, it's got to be fair. The judge has got to give both sides that opportunity. I just feel very strongly about that. And I saw the situation where it wasn't level. Okay. And that was a focus of my legislation. I believe in second chances. I think redemption is good for the soul. Okay. It's good for everybody, not just the person being redeemed. You send somebody to jail for 30 years and say, see you, mate, in 30 years, or, 26 years after serving 85% of the time. What are you doing? You're not incentivizing that person to do well whilst he or she is in jail. Okay. You're saying you're worthless, 26 years for serving a 30-year sentence, and then you can get out. No. What you want to do is incentivize people to do well when they're in prison. Get an avocation, get a skill, and then How do you incentivize them? Parole. I authored the bill that established parole for fishback defendants, and we got it. Okay. I, along with Senator Dave Marsden, co-sponsored the bill that gave juveniles parole. I worked with Don Scott in the House for earned sentence credits. We got some of what we wanted, not all. And I will introduce this year, like I have every year, a bill to reestablish parole. And it's not just because, don't say Joe's, oh, he's a bleeding heart liberal. If you're some of the most conservative people out there understand why we need to have parole reestablished. You want people to do well when they're in jail, take advantage of programs so they become productive and purposeful on the way out. Look at you. Look at half the people in McShin. They've seen the inside of jail. What if you just give up on those people and say that their value is ended? What a defeatist attitude. So that's what I focus on. My bill banned the death penalty in Virginia. It banned chokeholds. It banned, no-knock warrants, okay? My bill established that you have a right to a jury trial, but a judge sentencing, because people were having their rights to a jury trial chilled. Go up to Stafford County or Fredericksburg, distribution of a gram of heroin, sentencing guidelines, 6 months to 18 months. Okay, plead guilty, expect that. The prosecutor said 6 years. You say, well, no, I'll just take a trial in front of the judge. Prosecutor would say, we demand a jury trial. That was code for our juries in Stafford will light you up. Okay. Wow. And then people, there's over 2,500 people serving sentences in Virginia right now that have excessive sentences. Guidelines was 2 years. They took a jury because they felt they were innocent and got 22 years or 32. A judge might eliminate a modicum, a small amount, but that's it. So my bill said you can still get a jury trial, but you get judge sentencing and you can avail yourself of the sentencing guidelines. Major change in criminal justice reform. And, the prosecutors were like, oh my God, they were singing the blues. We're going to need 1,000 more prosecutors, build 10 more prisons. Hasn't happened. Hasn't happened. So that's what I'm going to do. I want to end mandatory minimum sentences. My bill, along with 2 other senators, legalize the simple possession of marijuana. I want to de-felonize simple possession of Schedule 1 and 2 drugs. And I think this will surprise a lot of people. I grew up, how old do you think I am? You know the answer.
Well, I know roughly, yeah.
I'm 64. Let's be very clear.
I was going to say 63, actually.
Let's be very clear. I look much younger.
Absolutely.
And Art, am I not pretty?
Yeah, you're very pretty.
Yeah. But
that's in the reel.
I grew up at a time when everybody was smoking weed. Okay, I never did. Just I was a jock, and I just didn't do it. I might to this day might have a glass of wine once a month. But I realize and respect the fact that other people that do, they don't deserve to be branded criminals. And we were focusing on brown and black people with marijuana. They're the ones that are getting stopped. Yeah. That's wrong. So I want to decriminalize and destigmatize somebody who's not a felon because they had a small amount of a Schedule 1 or 2 drug. So I want to give second chances. I want to incentivize people to do well. I don't want for a moment my kids smoking weed. Okay. Because you're clear about it. But at the same time, those people that have or have been convicted, I don't think they should be branded criminals. Yeah. And I hope we get a chance somewhere during this podcast to talk about the Good Samaritan Law that I helped pass that incentivize people if they see somebody overdosing to call it in. Yeah. Because we need more work to do on that.
Well, let's talk about it.
All right.
Let's talk about it.
All right. I've got everybody, I think, I'm not going to assume that. A lot of people out there listening know that the Good Samaritan Law was passed because of the following debacle, the following scenarios that repeated themselves again and again. People were using, they were ODing, okay, and they were dying in large numbers, okay? By the time first responders got there, it was too late to hit them with Narcan, okay? And we decided, how do we save these lives? What we did in the General Assembly is we said, listen, we're going to give people, if they call in and say that they are using or somebody is using and they're ODing, we want them to stay there to give aid, okay? And in order to encourage that, we said, you will not be prosecuted for the possession of the drug, okay? You talk to anybody, for any first responder, they're going to say the number of deaths decreased dramatically. I'm very proud of that, Bill, because it saved lives, okay? And if you and Art were back in your day were using, Art was ODing, lots of people would think, what do I do? What do I do? And they may call in an anonymous call, but they wouldn't want to stay there. They may not call at all. Mm-hmm. People died. They didn't get help. And you, as you know, all you got to do is get the first responder there and bam, hit them with Narcan. And it's like it hits you right away and it saves lives. So it worked. Well, we're right here in Henrico County. We got to correct a problem, and I'll tell you where that problem exists. And from my show, the Fighting Joe Morrissey show, I'm a Democratic state senator, but I call people out irrespective of their party if they've done something wrong. And Shannon Taylor, the Commonwealth attorney here in Henrico County, really tried to go around this Good Samaritan Law. So the person that called in could not be prosecuted for using or giving it to the person who's ODing, right? They were encouraged to stay there. So she was sending capious requests to the judge to show cause that individual for a previous crime, something they did 5 or 10 years ago, and say, Judge, we can't prosecute them for what they did last Wednesday when they were using and somebody nearly OD'd, but we can show cause them for another crime. What the hell sense does that make? You're right back in the old dilemma where people say, well, I'm not going to call it in. If I can, who cares what they're prosecuted for? If I can be prosecuted for something I did 5 years ago, I'm not going to call it in. And I brought one of those capious requests. Good, we're on TV. It says at the top, Shannon, there we go. Shannon Taylor at the top. Office of the Commonwealth's Attorney. Sorry, Shannon, but I'm going to call it the way it is. On March 3rd, 2021, Henrico police responded to a medical emergency call involving the defendant. The defendant was found to be in crisis due to the apparent usage of narcotics and medical treatment was necessary. Underneath that box, suspended sentence. The above violates the good behavior provision of a previously suspended sentence. In light of the danger posed to the defendant, the Commonwealth respectfully requests that the court issue a capious with no bond. Oh, that's great, Shannon. Great. So now if somebody knows that they can be picked up on a capious, hauled into jail on Friday, no bond, are they going to stick around and help somebody that's ODing? No. It defeats the purpose of our Good Samaritan Law. And I'm calling her out on it, okay? Fellow Democrat, but that's the way it is. And it's and I've got to correct that in the General Assembly. Yeah. And she either gets on board with me, okay, or she's gonna get steamrolled.
Is this the only place in the Commonwealth where this is happening?
I'm not aware of other people doing it. Yeah. Okay. And a lot of people are saying, well, isn't that the whole idea behind the Good Samaritan Law to encourage people to call in? Yeah. Okay. What if I'm using right now and Nathan, you're ODing. I want to save your life, but if I know I'm going to get a pass, if I call and the police respond and I'm not going to be prosecuted, I'm calling in. But if Shannon Taylor is going to call me out and issue a capious for my arrest because of a conviction from 3 years ago, I'm bailing. I am bouncing. Yeah. I might make a quick anonymous call, but I'm bouncing, and who dies? You die. Shame on Shannon Taylor, and we're going to change this law.
So that's interesting that you bring this up. So
I feel a little better.
I was
Bart, am I a funny guy or what?
You are, yeah,
man.
Thank you.
What good look? Very good looking. I think is what you said, right?
pretty.
Very pretty,
Pretty.
very
Thank
pretty,
you, Bart.
and funny.
Yeah, no, definitely funny.
Hey,
yeah.
listen,
Of course,
Entertaining, yeah,
my
I like
kids
them.
will. I'll say that. I said, I'm right. And I play them, so I can beat you in basketball anytime, and I'm pretty. No, you're not pretty, Daddy. My daughter will tell you're 64 years old and you got freckles on your arms, and you're not pretty like us. So,
Wait, the freckles on the arm make
oh
you
my
not
God,
pretty?
yes. My children are mixed. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so they've got beautiful skin.
You have beautiful kids. I've seen pictures of your kids.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
That's kind of you. Credit to their mother. But I'll say to Bella, you're beautiful. I tell all my kids are beautiful, and you got lovely skin. And she'll take my Irish to touch my Irish skin and say, "Oh, Daddy, you've got beautiful skin too." And I said, "Honey, I know I don't, not like you." But she calls me out all the time. I've got Maverick is my 4.5-year-old, and everybody that he sees, he loves. We're standing in the store getting a banana and orange. He'll go up and he'll see you standing there. He'll hug on you.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? I'm Maverick. Bella will turn around and say, "Nice to meet you, Maverick. Come back over here. Oh, by the way, that's my daddy, and he's 64 years old." That's what they do. So
They keep you young, don't they?
they keep you young, and just listening to their banter, taking them to school or to an event, going back and forth is wonderful. But again, I can talk about my kids all day long. I want to talk about, I've got a real passion for criminal justice reform. I've got a passion for helping people in the recovery industry. I want to see people do well.
Mhm.
I love seeing good things happen to people who are working to make it happen. Okay. And I'm telling you, nobody works harder to get that monkey of addiction off their back than people in recovery.
Mm.
And it's never a straight, complete uphill trajectory. There's always going to be side,
Sure.
Sure. And let me share this with people listening out there. And I think people in the industry know it, but others aren't so aware. 2 points. A lot of people that are using, they are not using to get high, particularly with opioids. They are using for one purpose only, to prevent a condition called dope sick. It's a horrible condition. It was described to me once as follows. Joe, dope sick is, think of the worst flu you ever had. You were achy, you were sick, you were throwing up, the worst flu, multiply it by 10. Am I close, guys?
No, definitely. And then also it comes with the anxiety and the depression.
Sure,
which
add that
is
to it.
Huge. Yeah.
Dope sick is a horrible feeling. And people seek the opioids just to get feeling like the three of us feel now, normal.
Just feel normal.
That's all they want, to feel normal. So they take it. So they go through that withdrawal, and half the jails. You talk to Carl Leonard, a conservative Republican in Chesterfield County. He calls it putting people in jail for being addicted, criminalizing the disease of addiction. And he's right. And the big part of their job in the jail is to detox people that come in. So that's what I want to do. I just want people to get their life back, okay, and become productive. They might host a podcast. They might produce a podcast. They might go in and just become successful.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And so, that and focusing on criminal justice reform, it's one of the things that I do.
Well, you actually opened up something, and I want to ask more about this, because you said, and I agree with you, that so often the jails become the detox centers
All the time.
all the time,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. And the problem with that is that jail is not a medical facility. It's not a clinical facility. However, you'll find arguably the criminal justice system is the biggest provider of mental health and substance use services in the country.
Mhm.
And this is not a good precedent, because the jails are ill-equipped to handle what they're doing, yet alone putting on that mental health part. How do we tackle and give people the help they
Sure.
do need?
Great question. Actually, why they're not equipped, because it's not a medical facility, to overcome the disease of addiction, you have two things. It's you got to be focused on it, laser-like, and come at it with behavioral changing behavior and also the medical component of it. You got to do both. And actually, the jails are very equipped on the second part with peer-to-peer recovery groups in jails, like the HARP program in Chesterfield County, Orbit in Henrico. That are exceptionally well equipped there, because you have inmates there that aren't going to pull up with all the, the silliness. When they get in their meetings, they're not going to be conned by a con. That's not going to happen. They're going to say, listen, let's get real. This is what you were doing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're right. I was. Okay. So they are equipped in that capacity, and they are remarkably successful. You participate in an Orbit program or a HARP program, and it's not easy and it's not short. You've got to stick with it, and you complete that program. You've got a huge head start on becoming, maintaining sobriety, becoming sober. And that's all that anybody wants. And by the way, if you do that, who wants to keep somebody in jail because they're an addict? Really? We pay $30,000 to $40,000 a year to keep them in jail? Really, society, you want that? How about, the Nathans of the world? How about we clean them up as quickly as we can? We get them back out there working, paying taxes, becoming a contributing member to society. How about we do that? That's what I want to see.
Well, I want to present another side of this,
Please.
because I have a dichotomy within myself and my personal story. So and you're going to laugh at this because I now know a lot better. But I was pulled over for speeding in 2016.
Yep.
Okay. And I was in the back. I was in the passenger. I was behind the passenger seat, in the back seat. Okay. We pulled over into the driveway where we were going. We just happened to be right there. So we pulled in there. Officer comes.
3 people in the car?
3 people in the car.
Front seat, front passenger seat, and you in the back.
Yep.
I got it.
Yeah. So, officer takes all 3 of our driver's license, which,
Questionable.
okay, right.
I'm in the back. He's not getting mine.
Well, now I know,
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
Because
I'm sorry. You're
no. Because these are the things I'm learning. So I can tell you all those pieces, right? Because I can look and I can say, well, that was wrong, and the officer screwed me here. And at the very end, the cop ended up getting a dog, and the dog smelled drugs where I was sitting, and ended up getting drugs out of my bag, which I had on my person outside of the car. And the officer said to me,
You got a search warrant.
Well, he said, I have probable cause to search your bag. And he asked me if I had anything in there. And at that point, I shouldn't have said anything because he would have been wrong.
The
He was wrong.
response was, you do not have my permission to search the bag.
And instead,
I'm not going to prevent
Yep.
you from searching it,
Yeah.
but you don't have my permission. Get a search warrant.
and I handed it to him.
Okay?
And
Put your hand to him.
methamphetamines.
You what?
Methamphetamines.
Okay.
Uh,
It doesn't mean that the search couldn't still be contested.
and we did. We contested it. The judge ruled against me on that.
What jurisdiction?
Warrenton up in Fauquier
Okay,
County.
I'm with you. All right, go ahead.
So, gap. My stupidity, not knowledge of what's going on, but also I've got a problem at this point because I'm literally working to pay for my addiction. So there's a problem right off the bat.
The problem meaning you're going to jail. Is that what you mean?
Well, no,
And you can't get your drugs?
Well, the problem is I can't stop using at this point,
Right.
and I don't have a way to ask for help. Without
Yeah.
because in my head I'm breaking the law and I'm a bad person, all these things, and then I do get arrested. So that aside, let's go shoot to pretrial. This is my first offense. Okay.
Charged with felony possession of drugs for personal use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get a suspended sentence.
Should be the 251.
Yep.
Yeah. Should be.
By
Well,
the way, folks, that's somebody if they can avail themselves of 18.2 251, then that's first offender, and they'll go into counseling, drug treatment, et cetera. And then the charge will be dismissed.
I'm a person with a disease of addiction.
All right.
What's a symptom of that disease, Art? What's a symptom of the disease of addiction?
I don't know, irritable discontent.
Yeah. But what's the big one? Using
The
drugs.
using, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
using
biggest-
drugs and
that's the
alcohol.
biggest symptom
You're
of
going to
disease.
continue. Let me
Yeah.
guess. Let me guess. You continue to use, continue to perhaps distribute, and you got rearrested.
No, no distributing.
Continue.
No distribution, not alleged anyway. But I'm actually, in all seriousness, no, it was very much a personal thing. In pretrial, see, this is where I'm a gap filler. Okay, and this is the argument I have with the Commonwealth's attorneys, right? So this happened in October of 2016. All right, I go to pretrial, and because of what I told you about the cop and this and that, it's taking a while before we go to trial. So I'm at pretrial. I go and I establish a rapport with a woman. I clean cut white guy. I wear button down
Pretty.
shirt.
There you go.
I can say that. Am I pretty?
Not as pretty as
Pretty.
me, but pretty.
I'm
Very
not.
pretty.
That is true. I am not as pretty as the senator here. But so I go to pretrial. I do my
Either
thing.
right now people are saying he is so full of himself, or he is a funny guy. It's the latter. Okay, because remember I told you earlier on. All my kids say you're not so pretty, Daddy. Anyway, so go ahead.
I think you should be who you are.
Yeah, you go.
Be the silly, goofy person. I
There you
like
go.
this about you. Yeah, but okay. So I continue.
Pre-trial, you've
Yeah,
got
pre-trial.
officer.
And I know enough that I can tell, oh shoot, I'm going to test I'm going to test positive. I'm going to call her up and I have to work, and she believed me, and so I would continue to use and I would try to
Try
game
to
the
game the
system.
system.
Exactly. And at one point, after probably 4 months being with this woman, I get a wild hair at my ass and I'm like, lady, this is what you're doing. You're making us all felons. And she looks at me and she says, Nathan, look at how well you're doing. And in my head, I'm screaming, I've lost 35 pounds in 4 months. I'm going to get high in the parking lot when I leave here. How the hell do you not see that? And at that, I didn't see her again until I went to court, because at that
Did you
point,
ever fail a drug test?
no. But at that point, I realized this system is not set up to help me.
Right.
This system is just set up to I don't know, to teach me a lesson.
Right.
And what I think about in those moments now is that if like John Shinholser had been there, if Art had been there, if me now had been there, they might have seen through my crap and been able to get me to some help sooner.
Sure. If one of those people came into your group and they explained the story to him, having been there, that when they were brought down before the magistrate, they probably were looking to get high that afternoon, that evening. That. And that's what I said earlier. You're going to see through any of the charades.
Yeah. So the argument that we get from the prosecutors, how are we going to get people into recovery? How are we going to get people into recovery if we don't arrest them? How do we do that? And I hear that all the time, and I'm thinking, from October of 2016 until March of 2018, I never had anybody tell me anything about recovery coming from anywhere in the criminal justice system. Now, this is me in Warrenton. Now, so maybe things are different in Henrico County, Richmond City. I know they are, because we work with Henrico County and Richmond City and Hanover and blah, blah. But, when I think about that, I think about how we use the law. How do we get people into recovery if we don't arrest them? Is the oft said thing by the Commonwealth's attorney. What do you say to that?
Well, okay. I think I don't necessarily agree that you got to arrest them to get them in recovery. I think you got to do what I think McShin does very well: promote recovery. Promote it. You know who wants to? First of all, let's be clear: the people that are using, they want, for the most part, to be clean. The parents, siblings of those kids, 100% want them to be clean. Okay, so the message is delivered to those people as well. And McShin's got a pretty good network of getting it out. I'm looking at your sheet here: Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and of course, coming on the Fighting Joe Morrissey show. Yeah, you're doing a good idea getting it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's better ways, but I've heard of, and there's other recovery units out there. Okay. So, but yeah, I think at the very beginning of the intake, you bring somebody in and say, listen, if I tested you right now, would you pass? I'm not going to, would you? And there's a very good chance you're going to use while you're waiting for trial to come up. Very good use. Why don't we try another approach? Instead of the whole tactic be, I'm trying to avoid getting 6 months in jail so I can stay out and be free and get high. Let's make it the approach. How do I get better?
How do I get better?
That's what I think you do.
Mhm.
And then say, here's how I think, Nathan, I can make you better. And then you pitch recovery. That's just my thought. I don't believe that, I know that the fear of a jail sentence doesn't prevent people from using
No, if anything, it made me use
Schedule
more.
1 and 2 drugs.
It made me use more.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I lost 35 pounds in 4 months in front of that lady. I was using more. And so here, let me add another thing to this. So because I'm a special kind of guy,
Yeah, you go. You're special.
I'm
There you go.
special.
And pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Does he tell you, Art? Does he tell you, remind you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's coming from this guy over here. You don't see a camera on him, but this guy, because if we had a camera on him, nobody would look at us.
I've got that same issue, but I remind my kids, I am the man. Let's be clear. I'm the man. Don't ever forget it. You will never be able to beat me in anything. Downhill skiing, water skiing, basketball, horse. I am the man. I'm the man. I've been the man. I'm the man right now. And I'll be the man when you're 30 years old. Oh, Daddy, I'm not sure you'll be here when I'm 30. Oh, yes, I will. And I'll still beat you. What do you do? That's what.
I love it, man. I love you. Come on and talk about your kids all day. As far as I'm concerned.
They're funny.
Yeah.
They are funny.
So I'm a special guy, and I continue to use in probation,
Okay.
and I get picked up on new charges for possession
While your charges are pending.
while I'm on probation.
Oh, okay.
This is after
you've been
Mhm.
sentenced. Okay. And that I think is a violation of your probation. Am I correct?
It is, but this is in DC.
Okay. Where they got so much going on. You're already plotting. How do I pretend, or how do I make sure that my probation officer doesn't hear about this?
Well, no, I had already absconded in Virginia,
Oh,
so
there you go.
so there was
You've
already a warrant.
Yeah, there's a warrant already outstanding.
I got extradited back to Virginia, but I want to tell you the difference in the law because it's a misdemeanor. I got picked up on a Schedule 1, Schedule 2, right? It's a misdemeanor, and it's up to 180 days and/or $1,000 fine. Is what it is. And I got charged with 3 misdemeanors. 3, one of them being a distro charge, which was a misdemeanor that went away, but the paraphernalia and the Schedule 1, Schedule 2. Now, I'm not proud of all these things at all, and I'm so grateful to be away from the using. 4.5 years, clean and sober, in recovery, however you want to say that.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Chief, for that. That's wonderful.
And I appreciate that. And what I'm thinking though is that I got arrested in DC, new charges, and I knew even right away I knew I wasn't going to serve time in DC. I knew that right away, but I knew that because I was going to violate with new charges coming back to the Commonwealth that I would
be extradited to the Commonwealth, and they might hit you for the
6 to 9. Yeah.
Suspended time.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at that. Well, so essentially what ended up happening with DC is that all they needed me to do was get hooked up with recovery. And it went out the window. I think it was a year.
Was that your first introduction to recovery?
Well, no, I was already. So by the time I went to court in DC, I was already involved with McShin.
Was it working for you?
Oh, it was working great. Yeah.
Except for the fact that you got busted in
Well,
DC for using.
But I got busted in DC. I went back to Virginia, being extradited to Virginia, and then for absconding, I was put in jail, and that's when I found the McShin Foundation.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
when you were arrested in DC, okay, having already been convicted in Virginia, you hadn't availed yourself of McShin at that point.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you availed yourself of all the services of McShin that you finally got straight.
Yeah.
Cool. Good story.
Well, the point being is that in DC, they're very keen on making sure, looking at how we can help
encourage
people.
you,
Right.
incentivize you to get into recovery.
I realize that you have a lot going on in your day, and I know that you need to get going to your next appointment. Is there anything else you want to?
No,
talk
I've
about?
had a good time chatting with you, and one thing I think about both of us, and probably Art, you can't take yourself too serious. No. Nobody else will. I know your young kids won't. And you try to do something that's productive and purposeful, help some people along the way. So my hat is off to both of you. I mean, I so thoroughly much enjoy coming to McShin when I'm talking to the people there, and it's with them, not at them.
Mhm.
With them. Listen, what do we do? How do we make things better? I think you all are doing the angels' work here on earth, and just keep up the work. And if I got something to say, I won't hesitate to call you up. And similarly, you got something to say, come on the Fighting Joe Morrissey show, which we all know is the most popular political talk show in the Commonwealth, perhaps the East Coast. 5 stations covering me on 12 noon to 1 o'clock every day.
And it kicks ass.
It
It
does.
absolutely kicks ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything, Art, you want to say anything?
Appreciate you coming on the
Yeah.
show.
You got
Thank
it.
Thanks
Got
for
it.
all the work you do.
I
too.
appreciate you too. Any plans for number 7?
No. Listen, the most important time is I spend a lot of time with my kids. In order to do that, they've got to be with me in my political world, and
Yeah.
so they're used to it. They're used to visiting churches and visiting community associations and participating in it. They know they go into churches and it's a playground. They're up in the priests, the pastors, and Black Baptist Church. So, Senator, just let them go. We'll find them at the end. But I devote a lot of time to them, and I think I'm tapped out at
Yeah.
6, and that I can give a lot of attention to all of them, but it's getting to the point where I don't. I can afford them, and but I want to be able to continue to put the time in each one of them.
I put you on the spot. I'm sorry
No,
about that.
you didn't put it on me at all. I mean, I have daddy-daughter dates.
Yeah.
Or I'll take my son Chase out skiing a couple times a year, so it's just one-on-one. But a lot of it is, one on the whole clan.
Yeah.
Nuts, and I love it. But I'm good right now. 6 is a good number.
Thanks again for being here today, Joe.
Absolutely,
Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Have me. I come back anytime you invite me. Okay.
Awesome. And again, congratulations, John. 40 freaking years.
Yes,
That is absolutely amazing.
I'm going to give him a call when I get into my car and congratulate him on that time. That's neat.
Hey, all right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Good to see you again.
Thanks.